Hello, hi, it's Cam from Premier Property, and joining me today is Zuberi from the HMO Group.
Hi.
Amongst many other things, the founder of the HMO Group. Hi Ash, you well?
I'm well, thank you very much.
Brilliant. So look, we've got people listening in right now, and let's think about HMOs. So you're in HMOs, okay, I've got a HMO portfolio as well, but you're the expert in this.
You're the expert, you got more years than me.
Thank you very much. So what tips can we give these guys that are listening in right now? So what would you say is your number one tip when it comes to HMOs?
So I always say this whenever I meet people and when I go out, is you've got to love what you do. And HMOs are so difficult, it's such a people's business, and there's so much happening with them, and the troubles and the good times. And if you don't love those things, then it's not going to work. You got to love communicating with tenants. You got to love those calls coming in at different hours, and it's just that's my main one. Okay. And that can mean to anything. Sorry to cut you, but that's I started with property refurbishment.
Right.
I thought that was going to be my thing, flips. But then it changed. Once I heard about HMOs, something changed, and the focus and the passion and the love went on that, and that's where it stayed.
Interesting to hear that. So, what do you? So you love dealing with the tenants?
I love it.
Absolutely. But I would say it's more about what HMOs can give you.
That's for certain. Yeah, we know that, right? You and I both know that. The figures and that all counts. But if you to sustain it, and to add value, and to change people's lives, that's how I see it. That's how
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we help, like I said in the talk, we help tenants get onto the property ladder. We help them fulfil their lives, or their whatever their plans are in the future. But it's not all rosy. Don't get me wrong. I'd say 80% of it is enjoyable.
Okay.
But there's always that 20% where you get the nightmare, the naggy. But I can deal with that because I got 80% which I'm happy with. They make me laugh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So some real nugget there. So thinking about you just anticipate that you're going to have some tenants that aren't going to be all that great, but then the majority of tenants are going to make sure that they're good, they pay you well, and that is your business, right?
Yeah.
But it makes money. They make money, don't they?
They do make money. They make
so
good.
What kind of yields do you work on?
So like you said earlier, we don't look at anything below 12%. And that's in the southwest.
Okay.
If you go further up north, they're higher.
Yep.
And that's what we expect. But we have a specific model that we follow.
Yep.
And it has to tick those boxes. And if the minimum is 12, then we go for it.
Okay. So people that are listening in, what would you say is a base benchmark for them to work to? So you're giving some areas specific. So let's think about it. People that are listening in, they want to get into HMOs, or they already are in HMOs. They want to maximise on what they've already got. What would be the bare minimum benchmarks that you'd put in?
As in, what do you mean?
In terms of yields?
I would say, I think you mentioned 10. People have different. I've heard people say that I won't look at anything below 15. So it's very difficult to get, and those are the hardcore investors, who have big portfolios. They will tell you that. Okay. I remember them saying that about London back in the old days. And I was like, okay, where am I going to get that? So you really need to understand what's good for you from a yield perspective. But I would say anything above 12 is really good, because if anything goes wrong on a bad day, at least you got a buffer in there.
Okay, look, at Premier Property, we're always keeping it real, and I want to ask you let's define some areas. So let's say London. So I know there's different parts of London, but London, what's the yields that you would look at as a gross yield, as a bare minimum?
As a bare minimum, because of it's changed over the years. So I think anything above 10 would be great.
10%, I'd agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's now, as we move forward, looking at let's call it the Greater London urban area, as Savills calls it, or if you're like us, you call it the M25. What's the minimum? What's the minimum that you would look there?
Outside of the M25 or within?
Yeah, sort of around the M25, that sort of region.
That it's got to be above 12.
12%.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And if we move into sort of Midland Territory or Northern Territory,
then you're looking above 15. 14, 15,
okay.
And upwards. You go out to Greater Manchester, I've seen 20, 22.
Okay. So as a baseline, so there's some figures there.
Yeah.
That, people listening, that can work to. That's good. So when it comes to HMOs, what are the pointers would you suggest to the people listening in?
So I gave a few good tips there on how to be a good HMO landlord. So I'll share some of them, which, if I can remember, one obviously was, you've got to have a strong, what I call a bulletproof AST, and that's the contract or the tenancy agreement you have with tenants. That's the backbone of any HMO.
What do you mean? Do you want to just?
So once you've done you've found the property, you've decorated it, that's all the fun stuff. Right. Now the real work kicks in is you start getting tenants, you start doing the viewings, and you have to sign them to a contract, and tenants are tenants. They'll find any way to sort of maneuver out of their obligations. So you must make sure you cover yourself on all of those, and that's what the AST is. And it's silly things like. Well, simple things, I shouldn't say silly. Simple things like you must pay your rent on the 1st of every month. If you don't pay by the 3rd, we're going to charge you £20. If you don't clean your room at the end of the tenancy, we will charge you £30. This could go up to £100 if you leave it in an even worse state. It's black and white. They can't go over that. If they don't like it, don't sign. See you later.
Okay, yeah, so you put some parameters into place with the ASTs, and your ASTs more detailed.
Very detailed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In reality, do you really police those? Do you,
yes.
You do, right?
Yeah, we do police them. We police them heavy. And one of them, which is very, you can say the most common, is the cleaning.
Cleaning, yes.
Because we put in there, we categorically state, we don't, this is being me just putting in English, plain English, and being level with you. Yeah. I don't care how you clean that room. Your clean and my clean are two different things. So you need to pay me £30 for a professional clean, no matter what. Black and white. You can argue till the cows come home. You're paying me that 30 quid and it's coming out of your deposit. Because, you won't clean the blinds. You won't clean the windowsills. You won't clean behind the bed. We will. Our cleaners will.
Okay, so you put professional cleaning element in there into the AST. There's some good points though. So if you can set all this up right at the beginning, hopefully this is what you found. If you haven't found this, what you're starting out with this, then trust me on this. What you'll find is if you can get all this before you hand the keys over, you'll be far ahead of most landlords. Because what usually happens is they'll give them the keys and then afterwards they'll work out all these terms in the AST. So, and if there's one thing that you get from this video, this recording that we got here for you, is absolutely before you hand over the keys to your tenants, trust me, make sure you've got all your points that you want addressed, clarified with the tenants, so before they move in, they're happy with them, and you've got a strong AST that's going to work for you, and the tenant is absolutely aware of what they're getting into, so that you can make money and the tenant can live happily in their room. So just to be clear there. So that's a good point, right?
Thank you.
A good point.
Thank you very
that's very useful to people listening.
Yeah, I hope they find it interesting.
So people that are already in HMOs, they're growing their portfolios. People like you and myself. What would you say to them? What's another key tip? Because sometimes people can get stuck in their ways. They get to a certain point. Sometimes they don't even ask for help, do they?
No.
Because
they don't.
It's a little bit of a. It can be an ask for them to actually to understand that they actually need help. I mean, I keep a little bit of naivety in what we do, keeping an open eye, keeping an open mind, just keeping that learning vibe going on as we're growing our business, which really allows the business to grow. But what would you say to experienced HMO owners? What's a tip for them?
So are they happy doing what they're doing with the systems? Because I meet a lot of people and their reactions will be, I don't enjoy talking to the tenants, or I love what they give me, and I have problems, too many problems. There's always trouble. There's people eating in the fridge. All these that we talked about. We don't have those issues. You know, we have a 10% ratio.
Small percent, yeah, exactly. A small percentage. Yeah.
Very small percentage of that, because we've built the systems, we've put in the communication devices or platforms, so we communicate better with the tenants. So that's a key thing, which a lot of people don't want to do. You know, they just think, you know, there's my HMO, it makes me money, I only want to deal with it once a month. No, that's not the reality. It's every day. Every day you need to be there. You need to be able to be communicating with them, any issues, focusing on that. So if you're not going to do that, if you're not willing to do that, to grow your business, to grow your portfolio, to make your portfolio better, then you need to hand it over to somebody who will. You know, which is what you've talked about earlier in your talk, where, you know, there are agents out there and people in the networks in all over the country. So you need to seek those people out.